Hey everyone, Tankenstein here. In this video, I've got your complete overview and gameplay for the Bosvark. This is a Rank 3, battle rating 4.7, South African vehicle in the British Ground Forces tech tree. Specifically, what I mean is that this is in the South African portion of, again, the British Ground Forces tech tree. Now, that said, this is pretty much going to be the big brother, the better version of the Bosvark, at least in theory it should be, as this mounts two, so a dual 23mm ZU-23 cannon right here in the back, and it's got tires to help with rotation. Pretty damn cool. This thing is pretty much a gigantic flak bus. As you could see, it's got 4 crew members right here in the cabin, nice and protected, and then you have these loser outcasts being put back here where they can be killed by a pebble, by a just a stray rock that's being kicked up by these gigantic wheels. So, I mean, they have absolutely no protection. And these guys, to their credit, also have almost no protection. The only thing that this will actually protect against is going to pretty much be LMG fire from a strafing run at a high degree of attack, or high angle of attack. So that said, what we have here is a very good vehicle for SPAA and nothing else. It sits just below where the Bosvark sits, the old flak farm equipment, and as you can see, I mean, this had one 20mm cannon, but this has two 23, and if I'm not mistaken, this is the same 23mm cannon setup that we see in the BTR ZD. Yes, it is the ZU-23 cannons, but of course, again, in the Bosvark. Now, this is going to be a very unusual vehicle. Its anti-vehicle capabilities are going to be somewhat limited. It only has 51mm of armor pen at max with the API-T ammunition, and also has very little, of course, with the HEFI-T ammunition. However, this is just, again, I mean, this has the API-T mixed in with it, so of course you're still going to have that 51mm armor value because it only considers the max armor pen value and doesn't really show everything. Actually, that's an improvement I think War Thunder can have here. Just before we get into actual gameplay, they should list all the armor penetrations for all the major shell types in there, for maybe like the top 2 or 3 shell types in an ammo belt. I feel like that would help people a tremendous amount. That said, though, let's get into some gameplay here. As you can see, it's not going to let me go into ground realistic. I might be able to if I kind of game the system here a little bit, but I'll try it out and test drive, see how it is, and then maybe we can get some other gameplay. So it starts you off facing backwards, which is already kind of crappy. Don't like that all too much. Let's go fire against this. And so this is the default ammunition belt. Destroyed that pretty damn well, but of course, this is, again, this is a vehicle built, I think, in the 1990s versus a World War II era prop that actually was built pre-World War II, if I'm not mistaken. So it's not like this is all too impressive. But you can go through the frontal plate of that Panzer II pretty easily. This Panzer, what was that, the Panzer III, I believe? Maybe that's the 4. Correct me if I'm wrong. Pretty easily. Of course, I mean, that 51mm of armor pen is not bad. I mean, there's not really anything I can complain about with that. Now, this has very limited off-road mobility. Again, I mean, what can you really expect? This is the Bosvark, I guess big brother after all, if you will. So it's not really all too impressive in that regard. Let's just waste the rest of it. Now I've got my APIT, rather HEIT equipped. So let's see if we can actually get across this river with ease. But this is going to be a hell of a difficult thing to move around unless you're on road. So things like the VRCC, for example, they feel much better off-road than this. Like the higher BR wheeled vehicles, and I think a lot of it has to do maybe with the wheels that they use. I don't know if it's pretty much in War Thunder where every wheel functions more or less the same, but it feels like these wheels, or maybe this system, just isn't as good as what you might get in a higher BR wheeled vehicle. So, or the Rucat 105, another South African vehicle. So let's just pull up next to this Panther. Really am not liking this huge block up here where you can't really move your gun. You have to either be aiming to the side or to the rear. Wow, okay. I mean, of course, this is a World War II era vehicle, but I mean, that's pretty impressive. It went straight through the side skirts, but ultimately, I mean, how much armor is actually on a Panther tank? And it's also the weakest, weakest part of the side skirt. So that said, let's get into an actual match here, see what we can do. I'll test out some other functions on this thing, but who knows? You know, I mean, maybe this will be good at destroying jets too. Let's get into it. We have ourselves an A29 here, and of course this is AB. It doesn't really matter though, because this is going to have the same exact sort of functions, damage output as it might in RB. So let's see what we can do. This reload sucks, man. I mean, it's not like terrible. I think it's like 10 seconds when you're fully aced out, but it's still not amazing. So let's try this again. Critted him. Nice. Okay. Not too bad. I mean, this thing goes, it feels like it's going through a lot more ammunition than what you might get in the test drive. That's weird. It's just blowing through it. Maybe it's because I wasn't firing in long bursts in ground battles, but this just doesn't really feel as good. So let's go up here. Got a T-80 up there. Oh, he killed everybody in the crew. I got... Man, look at that. Look at that fast rate there. Okay. Back up. We got one driver still left, and the loader's dead for now. Man, I don't get it. Why do they call it crew replenishment? They should just call it the conscription system. Especially in AB. Because, like, you can just bring anyone to the, you know, to the fight anywhere that you are. You just stop in a random town, just say, you're fighting with us now. And that's pretty much that. Look at that. Okay, so one other thing that I'm noticing here, I haven't really seen that we can raise these. I don't believe we can. Correct me if I'm wrong, however, but I don't believe that we can actually raise these, unfortunately. Also, I'm stupid, but the wheels, obviously, they're not for turning this. It's not like a baseball, like an automatic pitcher, but rather to set it up so that you can attach it to a truck and pull it behind the truck or something. Yes, I do know that's what that's all about. So that said, we have ourselves a helicopter somewhere off in the distance. Two of them. Okay. But they're being shot at by actual SPAA, not me. See if I can get this guy before he dies. Got him. Okay. I mean, they do a lot of damage. That's the HAIT ammunition. So, you know, I mean, pretty much this is the BRZ or whatever it is in a slightly different body. You know what? You know, long story short, this is an SPAA. It's a very interesting SPAA, and it's something where you have your more or less reserve crew up here. I mean, if everybody in the cabin dies or everybody back here dies, there's enough distance between them where you can just replenish your crew and still kind of fight, which is nice. But ultimately, I mean, this is, again, an SPAA. It's nice that we see this cannon at a lower BR than what we have in the Russian tech tree. Again, with the BTR-ZD, that's 5.3, whereas the Bosvark, or the Bosvark, is 4.7, which should increase its anti-tank capabilities quite a bit. But ultimately, when you're playing in the dev server, you're really not going to be in any sort of situation where you can actually use this thing to kind of show it off. SPAA and dev servers are really kind of funky, and really the place to actually test them out is going to be the test drive, as I showed you before. But I can see it where you can actually peek this thing out behind a building, let's say in a city map, and just use this kind of as a way to kill enemies, because if only 2 crew members die, of course that's a loss, but you're not out of the fight. So you can kind of use this as a way to kind of get to attack enemies from behind a building, whereas this is all protected by the building. So it could be useful in that regard. But that said, thanks so much for watching. Please let me know what you guys thought in the comments below. Again, SPAA, there's only so much one can do with it, but thanks so much, and see you all on the other side. Take care, everyone.